I tell the story of HDB's beginnings to the students that I teach with real pride. I remind them that we were once labelled by the British as having one of the world's worst slums because so many of us here were living in squatter conditions. And I tell them also about a man called Lim Kim San who was so affected by the struggles of the poor that he volunteered to chair the HDB and power his way through bureaucratic red tape and rigid regulations to ensure that low-income Singaporeans could gain quick access to low-cost housing as soon as possible. The foundations of the HDB story was one marked by an urgent compassion and an ambition for social impact, and that is why it is regarded as one of the most successful social housing schemes in the world. And I do see the continuation of Lim Kim San's extraordinary legacy whenever I hear stories of compassionate officers in the public service working quietly and ambitiously to help every housing challenge that comes their way, especially those of single parents who have fallen through the cracks. My cut is about how we can help financially burdened single working parents, be they divorced, widowed, unwed, or those with incarcerated spouses, to allow them to consistently experience HDB as a compassionate and trusted guide in their difficult journey of finding stable housing for themselves again. So I'll focus on 4 interventions that I believe can help. First, expand the terms of the Assist scheme so that more single parents can qualify. I understand that there already is a priority housing scheme for divorced or widowed single parents since 2013. And I have read that the HDB set aside about 740 flats for the scheme as of December 2014, but take-up has been slow and only 130 flats have been booked. So I'm not sure if that's because of the eligibility criteria. To qualify, applicants must have sold their matrimonial flat before their divorce. However, anecdotally, many single parents sell their matrimonial flat after their divorce, disqualifying them from the scheme. So can the Minister verify and update us on the take-up rate of the Assist scheme? I hope he can also explain the underlying principle of why only applicants who sold their flat before the divorce need apply, and whether this scheme can be expanded to include those who sold their flat after the divorce. Second, allow divorced single parents with split care and control of children early access to subsidized housing. I understand that divorced couples are subjected to a 3-year time bar where only one of them is allowed to own a subsidized flat. If both of them cannot agree on which one of them will get that privilege, only the parent with care and control of all the children can be exempted from the debarment period when buying their second subsidized HDB flat. Some of these lower-income divorcees ordered by the courts to split the care and control of their children thus feel trapped in between the 3-year debarment for HDB home ownership and also being denied rental housing options simply because they do not have care for all the children. So can the Minister share whether it is possible to lift the 3-year debarment period for access to subsidized housing for financially challenged divorcees with split care and control of children, especially those who do not have kin who can house them? Third, consider unwed mothers and their child as a family nucleus so that they can apply for HDB housing. The government has recently made really encouraging strides in showing compassion towards the situation of unwed mothers, giving them equal maternity leave and access to child development accounts. I have a special respect for single moms who choose to take the hard road of raising a child on their own when they could have chosen to abort or abandon their child out of fear for their own future. They have chosen a very uncommon path, and in the light of our low birth rates, I believe such moms should be supported rather than penalized for choosing to take responsibility for raising their child. Currently, because unwed mothers and their children are not considered a family nucleus, they do not qualify for family housing grants, and they may only purchase a flat under the single scheme at 35 years old. I know there is a current argument about how Singapore is a conservative society that does not accept unmarried single-parent families. I would like to also present the observation that many conservatives also pride themselves on their reverence for the sanctity of life, loyalty to kin, and protective care of the next generation, family-centered values that many single unwed mothers have shown they share as well because of their decision to raise their child. So it is possible that there is more support from conservatives from this angle than we think. I'm aware from stories on the ground that there have been exceptions made for certain single unwed moms, but the successes seem to be credited to a mixture of arbitrary reasons like individual stubborn insistence, MP appeals, HDB discretion, or diligent advocacy by a public servant or social worker. So it's quite unclear to an inexperienced observer what is the best process for an unwed single mom to take if she feels she has a good case. So can the Minister share what would be the most recommended path for an unwed mom under 35 to take through the system to afford a house of her own? My fourth and final point is for HDB to consider prototyping a user experience journey based on the single parent trying to navigate the HDB system. Many single parents share stories about depending on discretionary interventions by HDB personnel or MPs to secure a flat. And the default answer of please talk to your MP to solve housing issues is actually quite prevalent on the ground, even from VWOs. Some parents have gone beyond asking their MPs to write appeal letters to even having their own children write the letters, believing that only emotional appeals would help move the needle on their housing situation. But it cannot be that access to housing comes down to who has the most sympathetic story or the most passionate advocate. And I'm very sure that this is not the HDB or government way. The current lack of clarity by this particular user of how to navigate the system surely results in a great deal of wasted time and energy for everyone involved. The time poor single parents themselves, the time poor letter writing MPs, and the time poor civil servants juggling all the multiple cases. So could we experiment with forming a small support unit within the HDB that specializes in communicating and coordinating housing services for all families transitioning to single parent households? Because that would be a most exciting piece of social innovation. Thank you.